The porch light on Maple Street stayed on every night. In a town where most homes now used motion sensors and smart bulbs, the soft yellow glow outside number 317 never changed. It wasn't bright or modern, but it was steady like the man who lived behind the screen door. Thomas Tom Whitaker was 76 years old, and he liked things that stayed the same. He woke every morning at 5:42 a.m., the same time he had woken for nearly 40 years while working at the steel plant by the river. The plant had closed long ago, but his body still remembered. He lay still for a moment, listening to the quiet house, the soft hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of birds waking up. On the knitstand beside his bed sat a framed photograph. A woman smiled in the picture, her hair blowing in the wind, her eyes full of life. "Morning, Mary," Tom said softly. Mary had been gone for 12 years. Tom dressed slowly, his knees stiff, his movements careful. Downstairs he brewed his coffee the way he always had, no machines, no buttons. Just water, grounds, and patience. He sat at the kitchen table beneath the window and watched the neighborhood wake up. Fairhaven, Ohio, had changed. The old diner was gone. The hardware store had turned into something Tom didn't quite understand. New faces came and went, always in a hurry. His children were grown, now busy lives, full calendars, phone calls instead of visits. Tom didn't blame them. After breakfast, he pulled on his jacket and stepped outside. The morning air was cool and familiar. He walked slowly down the sidewalk to the bench near the old oak tree and sat, just watching. He watched the school bus stop. He watched joggers pass with earbuds in their ears. He watched the mail truck roll by, the driver waving like always. Tom waved back. He didn't talk much anymore, but he noticed everything. The Whitaker house had once been full of noise. 3 bedrooms had held 2 children, laughter, arguments, late-night talks, and Sunday dinners. Now the rooms were quiet, clean, still. Some afternoons the silence felt heavier. That was when Tom went down to the basement. Along one wall sat boxes labeled in his own handwriting. Old tools rested on a wooden workbench, worn smooth by decades of use. In the corner sat a small, unfinished birdhouse. Tom picked it up and turned it slowly in his hands. He had started it for his grandson years ago, but time had moved faster than the project. The boy had grown up. The birdhouse stayed unfinished. Tom set it back down. Time had a way of doing that. The moving truck arrived in late spring. Tom noticed it right away parked in front of the old Miller house next door. A young woman stood on the porch guiding movers. Beside her stood a little boy holding a toy dinosaur, his eyes wide as he looked around. Later that afternoon, Tom found himself baking banana bread. He didn't plan it. His hands just remembered. When the bread cooled, he wrapped it in foil and walked next door. He rang the bell once. The woman opened the door. "Yes?" "I'm Tom," he said. "I live next door. Just wanted to say welcome." Her face softened. "I'm Rachel. And this is Noah." Tom handed her the bread. "Thought you might not be unpacked yet," she smiled. "That's incredibly kind." As Tom turned to leave, Rachel added, "Your porch light, it made the street feel warm when we first got here." Tom looked back at his house. "My wife liked it on," he said. Said it made the house feel alive. Over the weeks that followed, life shifted gently. Tom still woke early, still walked to the bench. But now, sometimes Noah waved from the yard. Sometimes Rachel sat on her porch with coffee, and they talked about work, about raising a child alone, about how life doesn't always turn out the way you expect. Tom didn't ask questions. He listened. One afternoon, Noah came over holding a broken toy truck. "It doesn't work," he said. Tom examined it carefully. "Let's see what we can do." In the basement, Tom showed Noah his tools. Slowly, carefully, he fixed the axle. When the wheels spun again, Noah laughed out loud. "You fixed it," the boy said. Tom smiled a real smile. That night, the porch light stayed on a little longer. In early summer, Tom's daughter Susan came to visit. She noticed the banana bread on the counter. She noticed the sound of a child laughing next door. "You seem happier," she said. Tom shrugged. "Just keeping busy." Later, sitting on the porch, Susan spoke carefully. "Dad, have you thought about moving closer to us? Somewhere safer?" Tom looked down the street at the familiar houses. "I'm safe here," he said quietly. "This place still needs me." Susan didn't argue. She just reached for his hand. That night, Tom wrote a letter not to send, just to remember. About Mary, about time, about staying open to life even when it hurts. The storm came without warning. Wind howled. Rain fell hard. Just after midnight, the power went out. Tom was awake when the knock came. It was Rachel, soaked and frightened. Noah clung to her, crying. "Our basement flooded," she said. "I didn't know where else to go." Tom opened the door wide. They sat together by candlelight, wrapped in blankets. Noah fell asleep against Tom's shoulder. "I followed your porch light," Rachel whispered. "I could see it through the rain." Tom looked down at the child and nodded. "That's why it stays on," Fall came quietly. Leaves turned gold. The air cooled. Tom moved slower now, but he felt less alone. He taught Noah how to rake leaves, how to listen to birds, how to sit still without needing noise. Rachel brought meals. They talked sometimes. Sometimes they didn't. On Thanksgiving, the Whitaker house was full again. Susan and David came with their families. Rachel and Noah joined them. The table stretched with extra chairs. Laughter filled rooms that had once held only echoes. As evening fell, Tom stood by the window and watched the porch light glow. Mary would have liked this, he thought. Not because it was perfect, but because it was alive. Years passed. Tom walked slower. His hands shook sometimes, but the porch light on Maple Street stayed on. When people asked him why, he always gave the same answer. Because someone might be trying to find their way home. And as long as the light stayed on, Tom knew he had found his.